talking about? We're talking about spiders, and we're talking about pervitin', and we're talking about Bigfoot. I'm here to tell you where he's been. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. Here we go now. I'm talking about Mr. Gulley, and you don't know where he's been. Oh no, he's been right in your alley. Well, I'm Mr. Gulley, yes I am. So what we talking about? We're talking about spiders, and we're talking about pervitin', and we're talking about Bigfoot. I'm here to tell you where he's been. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. One, two, three, four. They call me Mr. Gulley. I've got something for your ear. Now it might sound kind of funny, but I'll make it very clear. So what we talking about? We're talking about spiders, and we're talking about pervitin', and we're talking about Bigfoot. I'm here to tell you where he's been. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. Here we go now. I'm talking about Mr. Gulley, and you don't know where he's been. Oh no, he's been right in your alley. Well, I'm Mr. Gulley, yes I am. So what we talking about? We're talking about spiders, and we're talking about pervitin', and we're talking about Bigfoot. I'm here to tell you where he's been. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way.
Hey everybody, what's going on? What's hot? What's hip? What's happening? What is shaking on your Wednesday? That means hump day, and we here at the Tom Gulley Show hope that you're receiving the full, total, and complete amount of hump that you so desperately crave and you so rightfully deserve. Tonight, let me tell you about Robert McNamara. Hey, if you're a fan of clandestine, sinister, behind the scenes, probably pretty evil people in our government, well, this is the show for you. Or he could be a patriot. That's the other alternative. Hey, do me a favor if you could before we get started. Like, share, subscribe, retweet, notification bell, all those free things. Just cost you a click. Takes just that long right there. That's as long as it takes. And it helps me out with the algorithm, the almighty, all-powerful, all-seeing algorithm. And you know what else? If you like or subscribe, man, that's the easiest thing in the world to do. And you can subscribe and you never have to come back. You can just let it sit there. It's awesome. We also have super chats and memberships, and not many people take advantage of those. Anyway, but if you could, it would help. It helps us pay the bills around here. Last but not least, let me get the ticker up. There you go. There's the ticker. It'll tell you how to turn on your gifted memberships, and somebody might just give you one free, totally free, out of the goodness of their heart. And you know what? That's the very best way to donate to the show, because you look so doggone cool when you do it. I mean, you look like Fonzie. That's how cool you look. Seriously, we got a few comments before we really get going to tonight's topic. Robert McNamara, who's really strange. And when I say he's strange, that's not my opinion. It'll make sense later, but no, the dude's really strange. It's baked right into him. I'll explain it later, and you'll say, you know what? You were right. He is strange. He's stranger than even he is at first glance. Anyway, Julian Zezer's here. Very smart man. He says, perfect part may conceal a crooked soul. And you can't see it from this picture right here, but he does have a part that I'll show you later. And it's not a crooked part, although it is strange, because it's the most perfectly straight part in a man's hair that's ever occurred. It's too straight to be done by a human. I'm telling you. By the way, this is the background tonight, because I do these custom backgrounds. This is Robert McNamara pointing out some areas of Vietnam he'd like to have destroyed, because that's what he does. Anyway, Julian says, perfect part may conceal a crooked soul. In this case, it's very true. Our good friend Jings, who's on another show or 2 or 20, he says, is there a call-in today? Well, as usual, after the topic is finished, I will be pinning the link to StreamYard link to those who want to be part of the program, Jings. So if that's what you want to do, then that's what you want to do. Jings apparently has a beef with our good friend, Jesse P.S. Now, we think very highly of Jings as well. We don't want none of that smoke, but he keeps accusing Jesse of being a pay pig for me. That's impossible. Jesse and I have never exchanged money. He's never donated to me. We have a very professional quid pro quo relationship. We're peers, we're colleagues. Even that may be inflating my relationship with well-known internet personality, Jesse P.S. Paused Patriots here. We haven't seen him. Well, I guess we've seen him recently, but we always love seeing Paz. How you doing, brother? How you doing, brother? Gilman is here. Just wouldn't be a show without our good friend Gilman. By the way, Jings has posted many, 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 many things here. I'm not going to respond to all of them. Well, Jesse P.S. is a clown. Let me get a piece of him. Jings, you don't want none of that. Don't do that. Just relax. Just please, I beg of you, Jings. Don't do that. Don't call down the lightning. I wouldn't do that. Gilman says, how old were you in the Peace picture? You mean in the critically acclaimed opening of the show with the song and everything? I'm going to say about 25 years old. I could ask the girl who took the picture. She would know better than me. In the intro, cool. CIA is here. It says, I'm listening. Well, that was the beauty of Robert McNamara. Is, he didn't hide anything. It was all right. Well, some of it was the Pentagon Papers. We'll get to that in a little while. Doopa-doo is here. Gosh, we love it when Doopa-doo is here. one of the friendliest people in our chat room. And we do have the friendliest chat room on the internet. The most cheerful chat room online is verified by independent sources. In a strange love kind of way. Oh, a very strange love kind of way. Tim Jenkinson is here. And Tim Jenkinson making this, because we're going to talk a lot about evil today. People that are evil, things that are evil, sinister, dark, quiet evil. And he mentions to me that sadly Tottenham Hotspur won in the Europa League. Hey, they're still going to finish in 17th place. Why couldn't they have been relegated? I sometimes think I hate them more than I love Arsenal. Yeah, Jings loves the bomb. Just let me have a few swings at Jesse. Jesse's not going to be here, to my knowledge. You know? By the way, Jings, you can go into his Discord anytime you want and get into that. Or his show, perhaps. But there's maybe people watching that will help you with that. But where's Aku? Well, Aku doesn't get to be here anymore. So yeah, James, all you got to do is go into that Discord, tell somebody you want some smoke with Jesse. They'll make that happen. Paz is doing great. That's awesome. Jings, if you have a beef with Jesse, why don't you talk to Jesse? There she is, the voice of reason. Yeah. I haven't seen Funky recently. Jings is standing in for Victor tonight. Don't hide him from me. Hey, Jings, guess what? I have no control over Jesse P.S. I don't think anyone does. But I know if I wanted to engage with him, I'd go into that Discord. They're very, very robust Discord. So Robert McNamara is a big Spurs fan. It doesn't surprise me. Doesn't surprise me. Doof is laughing. The Wolf is here. Oh, our good friend, the Wolf. He says, people saying hello, people saying hello. Hello, folks. People saying hi. People saying hi. People saying hi. He lied. He never sent the coleslaw. Look, I know. If he sent me things, I would be the one that would know if he sent me the things. I know that. Let's see. We got a Hi Dupa. And, Jings, I don't know about what you're talking about. Those two names are completely unknown to me. So, anyway, let's get to tonight's topic. Now, please avert your eyes. If you have kids, you're going to want to get them out of the room. Yes, here he is, the evil Robert McNamara. Now, I'll point out one more time, I don't think there's ever been you can't make a part that straight as a human being. I mentioned it yesterday. I'll mention it again. It's like Stonehenge or the pyramids. They examine that and they look at it and they say a human couldn't have done this. It doesn't stand to reason. But this is Robert McNamara. And Tim Jenkinson says taking it somewhere. That's not going to happen, Tim. He's just going to be mad, and that's fine. I can filter it out. Don't sweat it, man. Worse things have happened to me today. As if I didn't need another reason to dislike Manchester United. Anyway, you know what this fella's real name is? I mean, you and I know him as Robert McNamara, right? Everybody does. Back in Vietnam, oh, God, when you hear the things he did in Vietnam and the things he did outside Vietnam, oh, you're going to say, that's an evil fella there. And, by the way, he did things I'm going to tell you about that affect your daily life and your job and your existence, even to this day. And all of them, not just one of them, not just a few of them, all of them are a pain in your keister. Yeah, I said it. Pain in your keister. I'm not joking. And he's strange. Because you know him as Robert McNamara. You know what his full name is? Robert Strange McNamara. I'm not kidding. His middle name is actually Strange. And I don't mean it's like, Hiawatha, that kind of strange. I mean, it's actually Strange, Strange. That's his middle name. I didn't name him, Anyway, he was a businessman and a government official. And most notably, he was the 8th United States Secretary of Defense. And he remains to this day the longest serving Secretary of Defense. He had a major role in promoting the United States fighting in Vietnam and other places. This dude never met a war he didn't like. He was responsible for what they call systems analysis in public policy, which is now known as policy analysis. It's like a way of analyzing things. And system analysis is what drives a lot of decision making in business today. It's spreadsheets and calculations and all those things that when you're at your job, you get something, it's a memo from the, everyone has to park their cars with their headlights facing out from now on. Why do we have to do that? Why can't we just pull in? This guy is why. Because somebody decided. Because they're good on Excel. So they decided. And then, so now you're doing it. Then there's no, you know what I mean? Anyway. Mr. Strange, Robert Strange McNamara. Incidentally, I have a bunch of pictures of this guy. A lot of pictures. And I'm going to start showing them to you. And when you see the pictures, in every picture, he's with like a famous leader being evil. Just remember that. He was born in San Francisco. By the way, this guy was like a real right-wing guy, like a hardcore Republican. But there's a bunch of things about him that in this day and age would be considered extremely liberal. One of which is he was born in San Francisco, California. His dad was Robert McNamara, who was a sales manager at a wholesale shoe company. Didn't like selling those shoes to you and me individually. You had to buy a truckload of shoes from old Robert McNamara, his dad. His father's family was Irish. They came over during the big Irish famine and hung out in Massachusetts, then came to California. By the way, his mother's last name. Well, first of all, his mother's name was Clara Nell. Hello, Clara Nell. Clara Nell McNamara. But I'm wondering to myself, I says to myself, what was Clara Nell McNamara's name before she became Clara Nell McNamara? Well, guess what it was? It was Clara Nell Strange. So he was double strange, if you ask me. Anyway, went to Piedmont High School in Piedmont, California, where he was president of and this guy's hoity-toity too, very hoity-toity, behind the scenes, a lot of organization. He was president of the Rigma Lions Boys Club and earned the rank of Eagle Scout. He got all these little sort of, you know how they do with rich guys and creepy behind-the-scene guys. They always get pushed up the ladder. This is that guy. He was that guy. He was maybe the first of that guy. So he went to the University of California, Berkeley. Some people just call it Berkeley. And he graduated in 1937 with a degree in economics. And his minors were in mathematics and philosophy. He was a member of the Phi Gamma Delta fraternity and was elected Phi Beta Kappa in his sophomore year. And this will just show you what a hoity-toity he was. He earned a varsity letter in, okay, let's figure it out. Was it in basketball? No, it wasn't in basketball. Was it in baseball? No, it wasn't in baseball. Was it in football? No, it wasn't in football. Was it in even soccer? No, it wasn't even soccer. It was in crew, you know, the rowing, the hoity-toity rowing with got a varsity letter in that. He joined the ROTC as a cadet in the Golden Bear Battalion at UC Berkeley. Was also a member of UC Berkeley's Order of the Golden Bear, because evil guys, if there's one thing, sorry, just banged my ring on my table. If there's one thing evil guys love, and I mean love, it's being part of an order. They love being part of the order of something, the order of the, man, evil guys dig that so much. Anyway, in 1937, he took a summer job as a sailor on the SS President Hoover, and he was aboard the Hoover when the Chinese Air Force bombed the ship near Shanghai Harbor. He, though, wasn't injured. I think he knew about it in advance. This guy has Illuminati written all over him. He might as well just, you can see there's a big space for it at the top, just below the part. It just should say Illuminati, Knights of Templar. Yeah, that's who this guy is. So then what's he do? After that, he gets home from being bombed on the USS Hoover and then attends Harvard Business School. Yes, he had Harvard Business School, where he earned an MBA. Now, this was way back before MBAs were even a thing, 1939. Immediately after, he worked for a year at Price Waterhouse, a San Francisco accounting firm. Now, many of you may not remember this or indeed even know it, but of course I do. Price Waterhouse was the accounting firm that used to do the tabulations for the Academy Awards. They always make a big deal out of it. Tabulated by Price Waterhouse. Big, famous accounting firm for a year. Then he goes back to Harvard and teaches accounting in the business school and became Harvard. Because you're thinking, well, gosh, he's only like 26. How could he go to Harvard and be a teacher? Well, he was Harvard's highest paid professor and youngest professor at that time. Now, does that happen unless the fix is in? Does it? I don't know. I'm asking you. I'm not God. I don't know. But man, evil guy. Now, you're saying, well, what did he do in World War II? Well, I'm going to tell you. Following his involvement in a Harvard program to teach analytical approaches used in business to officers in the United States Army Air Forces, he entered. I doubt this guy went to boot camp. He entered the U.S. Army Air Force because it was before the Air Force. The Army had the Air Force before they split up. The U.S. Army Air Force as a captain in early 1943. Now, who enters as a captain? Even dudes that go to the officers candidate school have to go in less than that. Captain starts out as a captain, and he served most of World War II in the Office of Statistical Control, which were basically guys that went, I don't know if you need that many tanks. One of his very major responsibilities was the analysis of U.S. bombers' efficiency and effectiveness. So he was one of those guys that sat back and went, yes, I think if you'd have gone about 3 miles to the west, you could have killed at least 10,000 more civilians. And I know this because I am evil. Total, unmitigated human evil. Anyway, he established a statistical control unit for the XS Bomber Command, XXXX, which is kind of hot, actually. But Bomber Command, and devised schedules for B-29s, doubling as transports for carrying fuel and cargo over the hump. You're asking what the hump is? The Himalayan mountains, the hump. He left active duty in 1946 with the rank of lieutenant colonel. In 3 years, he went from captain to lieutenant colonel, and he had a Legion of Merit award. What for? That must have been some darn good pencil pushing he was doing with them spreadsheets, because by Willikers, gee golly, he got a Legion of Merit. A Legion of Merit. You know what a Legion of Merit is? Meritorious conduct in the performance of outstanding services or achievements. So somebody up the food chain, I'm not going to say who, because if I do, I won't be here tomorrow, because Evil, of course, evil everywhere you go. A little bit more evil. I think we could make it a bit more evil, don't you, Bill? Anyway, that's what he did. Now you're thinking, what's a fella like that going to do when he gets out of the evil war business? Well, obviously he's going to do something really important that'll make him super rich without deserving it. Why? Because he's one of those guys, and he's evil. All right, so or a patriot, or he could have just been a patriot. But probably evil. In 1946, this guy named Tex Thornton, who was a colonel that McNamara had served under, he put together a group of former officers from the Office of Statistical Control, you know, the evil pencil pushers, and they decided to go into business together. And at the time, Ford Motor Company was in actually big trouble. They needed to be sort of revitalized. Henry Ford II, who was a World War II veteran himself from the Navy, he hired all 10 of these guys, including Robert McNamara. Now, they immediately whipped themselves into the Ford Motor Company, and they consider it super mismanaged and just sloppy and bad. And they said modern planning, organization, management control systems, you know, all those things that make our jobs insufferable. Yeah, well, they made sure those got implemented real quick. And because they were all super young, Ford employees very disparagingly referred to them as the quiz. Sorry, not the quiz. Well, at first they called them the quiz kids because they asked so many questions. But then they rebranded themselves the whiz kids. We're the whiz kids. We just, you know, went in there and started changing things. So he started out as the manager of planning and financial analysis. And he rises through the Ford Motor Company like a skyrocket, right? He had Ford adopt computers, and this guy was way first into computers. Why? Well, because computers, like himself, had absolutely no human emotion and were not hesitant to fire people or have them put to death in a war. So he would create these models to find the most efficient, rational means of production and rationalized it all with, it's for the good of the company. Now, his style of scientific management with spreadsheets and graphs and trends, they were thought to be the most innovative thing in the world, and all these other companies started copying them, you know? So he was a force behind a bunch of really successful cars for Ford. The Ford Falcon, which was introduced in 1959. It was a small, inexpensive to produce car, which was in a counter position from the big, opulent, giant cars that were expensive in the 50s. One good thing about him, he was way into safety. And the seat belt was considered a novelty on a car back then. Now, he wanted seat belts on all the cars, padded visors, dished steering wheel, which helped people from being, impaled. Personally, I don't think if he cared if your brain went into the radio control knobs, and he didn't care, but I guess he didn't want to get sued. So he also took some of their other very popular cars, like the Lincoln Continental, and he made it smaller too, but still made it opulent, and it was a big success. In November of 1960, he became the first president of the Ford Motor Company that didn't have the name Ford since 1906, in over half a century. So what do you think about that? I'm going to get to your comments now. And then we're going to get into the good stuff, where he was the Secretary of Defense. And just to prequel that, I'll show you. Yeah, there he is with John F. Kennedy. And doesn't John F. Kennedy look like he's like rearing back like, whoa, that's more evil than I had counted on. I had not really considered that you were that evil. And he's like, no, of course, I'm evil. Yeah, that's what I do. Anyways, what's going on here? Let's see. Wow, there's a lot of stuff going on here. Tim Jenkinson says, was his father a German that moved to Argentina? He could have been, man. Julian Zezer is asking Jings, do you have a car without a muffler or an ice cream truck? Now, that's not Jings. Although Jings does live here in the state of Texas. Solid Snake is here from over at another channel on the internet. And he says, what's up, Tom? Come on, Stanley. You know good and damn well, Stanley. I love Solid Snake. He's a good man, people. He's a darn good man. Bob Hitler. He's, well, you know, Robert McNamara would say, well, you know, Hitler had the right idea. He just wasn't as organized as he should have been. He probably would have looked down his nose at Hitler. Strange, very fitting. Oh, yeah, Robert Strange McNamara. CIA says, what? I was kidding with the Strangelove comment. No, dude, no. He probably, yeah. The people that made Strangelove probably went, nope, that's the guy. That's the guy right there. I'm not hiding Jesse from you, Jings. I don't have any control of Jesse. Solid Snake says he's been watching a lot of TV lately. So many new channels. There's a lot of it out there. And there's a lot of it here on YouTube. You can watch the whole 51 episodes of Land of the Giants on YouTube. I'm not kidding. I'm not joking. Brevity is the soul of wit, says Julian Zezer. And that is true. Robert McNamara, CIA says, is his name where the Kubrick film came from? Well, I don't know for sure, but I don't know not for sure either. Robert Strange McNamara. I'm not kidding. That's his name. It's his official, God-given, on his birth certificate name. Mm-hmm. Strange. The Wolf says, he probably has no vices except doing suspicious things and scheming or plotting evil things. Yes. And then he has like one other vice, but it's beef bourguignon was his favorite dish. He was the freak for it. So people saying hi. Let's see here. Solid Snake says, as YouTube apologizing to Bill Cosby, just noticed he appears with Sidney Poitier. Didn't know there were so many. Well, there was a trilogy, Solid Snake. There was, if I can get these right, Uptown Saturday Night, Let's Do It Again, and I forget the third one. That's the one where they were teachers at the school. Let's see if I can find out really quick for you. Let's Do It Again is my favorite one. Let's see, trilogy. And there was 3 movies with Poitier. Uptown Saturday Night, A Piece of the Action, and Let's Do It Again. So Let's Do It Again was my favorite one. It was the boxing one with John Amos and Jamie J.J. Walker. So thank you, Solid Snake, for bringing that up. Let's see. Tim Jenkinson says, Jings, go take an autism test. It should take you at least an hour, which will be good for the rest of it. Okay, I'm positive for autism. I tested positive 1 billion times. No, not 1 billion. Come on, man. I figured that. Let's see. The Wolf says his dad was Al Bundy. No wonder he's warped. CIA says Cali wasn't a liberal state back then, was it? I don't think so. I think it was a pretty moderate state back there. Jings, I'm not putting these things up here because there's too many of them, and they're, you know. Tim Jenkinson says, for you to have some sense of self-awareness would be nice. Get on with the story. Well, okay. Well, sorry, man. Hey, whoa. Hey, you, get off of my cloud. Jeez. He's posing with the pen with the implication that it's actually a sword. Well, in this case, it was. And I'll tell you about it in just a second, because he would go, I think I'll just have this town destroyed. I mean, it was really Jings, you are what you are. I think that's great. I have no control over Jesse P.S. I don't have any access to him myself. Go to his Discord. CIA says, oh no, he was the original Revenge of the Cis. Very spooky. Oh, let's see here. The Wolf says, being in these perv clubs allows for more opportunities to do suspicious things. It really does. By the way, like, share, subscribe, retweet, notification bell. Do all those free things you can do that help me out with the algorithm, the almighty algorithm. That algorithm, that's a bear. By the way, the likes and the subscribes, man, they really help us out. They only take a click. And then we have super chats and memberships. Boy, would it be great if some people started using those. They help us pay the bills around here. And then look in the ticker at the bottom of the screen down yonder here, and that'll tell you how you can turn on your gifted memberships, and someone may gift you a membership. Only $2.99, for gosh sakes. Julian Zeezer wants to be in Kim's club. I didn't know he had a club. Let's see here. The Wolf says he served in the Office of Scheming. They probably should have had one. Merit for those stats. Yes. He pushed a mean pencil. Oh, that's good. Probably walked into NASA and became a fully qualified astronaut on day one. His name should have been Biff. Biff Strange McNamara. It does have a ring to it. Julian Caesar says he's the kind of guy who, if you called him Mac, he would insist, my name is Robert. That's very funny. Let's see. Dupe is laughing at Julian. I can't wait to call in. Well, there's no calling in. I'll put the link up. It's different than calling. And on my show, Jings, you can't use any foul language. We don't have that here. Tim Jenkinson says, just shows you some people get the easy life, don't they? Come fight me. James, why would I want to fight you, man? Number one, I'm not going to New Braunfels. You'd have to come here. Number two, James, there's people in here that have seen me in real life. I'm 6'5", dude. I used to play sports. That fight wouldn't last very long. But it wouldn't even be a fight because I wouldn't do anything to you. Please, go fight him, then stop talking about it. And James, for the last time, I don't have any control or access to Jesse that you don't have yourself. So go to the Discord. Certain people are there all the time and say, hey, I want to lock horns with Jesse. He'll put you on live. I guarantee you. I'll tell you what I will do for you, Jings. The next time I see Jesse, I will tell him that you're spoiling for a fight, and you guys can then get together. I'll do my best. A lot of people test positive, brother. It may be a false positive for all we know. People saying hi. People saying hi. James Ottawa 613 says, I hope I win the Tom Gulley lawnmower giveaway. I hope you do too, because I'm not giving one away. So if there is one, and I don't have any knowledge of it or anything to do with it, but generally speaking, I'm not adverse to you getting a lawnmower from somebody, just not me. If I had a spare, you could have it. About that. So after Kennedy gets elected, he offers this guy, the Secretary of Defense, that done it for Truman, and that guy says, nah, I don't want to do that, but say, I know a fella, he's good and evil, and he'd be your man. And that was Robert McNamara. So McNamara told Kennedy that he didn't know anything about government, and Kennedy said, well, we can learn our jobs together. I don't know how to be president either. So McNamara had read Kennedy's legendary Pulitzer Prize-winning book about himself called Profiles in Courage. And he was fond of it. And so Kennedy said, you can be the Secretary of Defense or the Secretary of the Treasury. And McNamara a week later said, I'd like to be the Secretary of Defense because I can kill more people that way. And Kennedy said, it's a deal. Now, Robert McNamara, as the CEO of the Ford Motor Company in 1960, was making $3 million a year. You know how much you got to be the Secretary of Defense back then? $25,000 a year. Now, don't get me wrong. In 1960, $25,000 a year was a lot of money. $3 million in 1960 is how much today? Question mark. That would be $32 million a year today. Yes. Now, how much is $25,000 in 1960 worth today? Well, $25,000 in 1960 was about $270,000. Still a lot less than $32 million. And so McNamara tells Kennedy, look, I'm taking a hit here. I know you're a Richie Rich from Massachusetts, but I'm just Bob Strange McNamara. If I'm going to give up all that money, I get to appoint all the officials and run the Pentagon any way I want to. And Kennedy said, yeah, go ahead. Kennedy, in fact, considered him a genius and called on him for advice about a lot of things other than the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, all of that, the defense and the national security, including business, social, and economic matters. Yeah. He also socialized with Kennedy. And not many people in the Kennedy administration did that. In fact, hardly anybody. Yeah. He also became very close with Bobby Kennedy, Robert F. Kennedy. So he was in tight with the Kennedys, right? Very tight with the Kennedys. Now, why don't I show you another picture of him with another big evil guy. Now, these two guys together, super evil. This is General Curtis LeMay. Curtis LeMay was the head of the U.S. Air Force. He was the chief of staff. And this dude didn't ever see any situation in the world. Hey, a guy in Kuala Lumpur just bumped into a U.S. soldier at a restaurant. I think we ought to bomb all of Asia. This guy was war happy as it gets. So there's those two sitting there conniving. I'd give anything to see what they wrote on those two pads of paper. I think, McNamara's just said kill, 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 kill. And LeMay's just said bomb, 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 bomb. And also cool was that there's an ashtray on every table back then. But that's just me. I just think that's kind of cool. Anyway, the basic policies outlined by President Kennedy in a message to Congress guided McNamara in the reorientation of the defense program. So under McNamara, instead of wanting to have the first strike in any sort of nuclear war or conflict, McNamara wanted to have bases and ships and missiles everywhere on the earth so that no one would attack us. And also, McNamara wanted the military to be under civilian command and control. And I'll tell you about that a little bit more, because a lot of people that were actual soldiers and sailors, they didn't like Robert McNamara one little bit. And so Robert McNamara's idea was, we want to stop the spread of communism or anybody that's not an ally of ours with an unlimited series of limited wars. He wanted to be at war all over the place in a limited way so that the big war would never happen. All right. And if somebody ever attacked us, he didn't want to fire all of the weapons back. He wanted to do it tactically and strategically so that after any nuclear war, we could have all their cities and their riches and their treasures. Yeah. So he was like super responsible for the Bay of Pigs invasion, reconnaissance flights over Soviet Union and China, the crisis in the Congo, which was very bloody, a lot of people got killed, the Berlin crisis of 1961, riots in the Panama Canal Zone, intervention in the Dominican Civil War, the beginning of the Korean DMZ conflict between North and South Korea, and the Gulf of Tonkin incident. Yeah, the USS Liberty incident, too. Yes, which was an attack on the USS Liberty during the 6-Day War that allowed the USA to become part of that. So, now, one of the things that made him so super duper evil, was he believed in something called counterinsurgency. This guy, and here he is with another evil guy named Harvard Lang, he wanted to have people in every country on earth, that were allegiant to the United States, that were talking to dissidents in that country, whatever the ruling party was. He wanted people there that he could have stirred up to fight whatever government was in charge, so that then the U.S. could come in and help them and destabilize their government and take over. He's the guy that really, really wanted that. Yeah. In 1962, Robert McNamara said, "The military tactics are those of the sniper, the ambush, and the raid. The political tactics are terror, extortion, and assassination." In practical terms, this meant arming and equipping U.S. military personnel, as well as allies such as Vietnam, for those kinds of counterinsurgency operations. And Kennedy loved this. He was fascinated by it. And that's a thing that really helped develop our special forces. Because the special forces were, they could come in and do all those guerrilla tactics and help out. And so that's what he wanted. He didn't want big, giant armies that were visible to people and needed trench warfare and planes flying over. No. He wanted all this counterinsurgency to be going on in all these nations. Yeah. So in Vietnam, he in other wars, he wanted the U.S. Army to be gigantic, just as a deterrent. So he started growing it and growing it and growing it he had about 1 million people to the Army. And the U.S. Army was very much against counterinsurgency. And the reason for that was the U.S. Army at the time knew they could defeat anybody in a regular war. They're like, why are we doing all that stuff? And why are we taking over other countries? We're supposed to go in, defeat who we want to defeat, and leave, and then they can have it. No, he didn't want any of that. No, he didn't want any of that at all. Now, here's another evil thing about Robert McNamara. Okay, let me go through some of your comments. I'm going to put this up here real quick first, because this is another very evil thing about Robert McNamara. If you'd like to know a little bit more about how evil Robert McNamara, yeah, you came to the right place, man. You came to the right place. All right, let me see here where I left off. Jings, thank you for totally spamming the entire room here, so I got to find my place there. Okay, Fishman asks if I'd like his bread machine. Nah, that's okay. You don't use it anymore? You should give it to a soup kitchen. I got so much bread here, I don't know what to do with it. So I can do a bread maker giveaway. He must have known everyone's secrets. This guy made J. Edgar Hoover look like a choir boy. CIA says, how much money did you make being a chimney sweep in 1965, Tom? Well, very little, CIA. And you should know this from your own records. I was only like barely walking at that time. Greg S. is here. He says, didn't McNamara invent the seatbelt? No, Greg, he did not invent the seatbelt. But as I mentioned earlier in the show, when you weren't here, although welcome and we're glad to have you, please subscribe and like. He made it a standard thing. It was considered a novelty on a car before Robert McNamara. And when he took over at Ford Motor Company, he made quite a number of safety improvements just so that, well, I think his attitude was, if I can keep them alive when they're driving a car, then there's more people for me to kill, personally. And but no, he didn't invent it, but he did popularize it quite a bit. How much was the president earning at the time? Well, please keep in mind that the president of the time was John F. Kennedy, who didn't need the money anyway. You know, it just didn't need it. Whoops. Oh, I type so fast. Let me see here. Boom, shakalaka. So at the time, the president of the United States had a salary of $100,000, and they received an extra $50,000 in an expense account. So $100,000 in 1960 is how much today? And that is about $1 million. About $1 million. About $1 million. I should have been able to figure that out from the 25,000. Let's see here. Fishman asked, did McNamara do Marilyn Monroe? No, he did not. As I'll get into his married life in a little while. I won't say it was totally evil, but it could have been evil. Because, well, you'll see why later. You know those rich guys that their first wife mysteriously, and then they suddenly have, yeah, that's what happened. Ken says, if your middle name is Strange, you should have to go by all two names, like the serial killer that you are, like Lee Harvey Oswald, John Wilkes Booth, James Earl Ray, yes, Robert Strange McNamara. It's Strange. I've seen that movie. It's a funny one as well. The CIA says, it's not true. We can date you back to the pyramids. Don't be coy now, Tom. Hope you like the Spurs reference. I don't appreciate Spurs references. I so don't. God, I hate them. Europa League. You won the loser trophy. Anyway. Any old way. I mean, the fact that they won it and they're 17th in the league and you beat a team that's 15th in the league. That must be quite a prestigious trophy. There's a little thing in the world called nuclear strategy. Yeah. So, yeah. Strategic Air Command. Guess who was the head of the Strategic Air Command? That guy I showed you earlier, Curtis LeMay, Mr. Let's Bomb Everything. So there's the thing called deterrence. And he was the guy that said, let's do deterrence instead. We will deter them from shooting us by surrounding their country with nuclear weapons. Yeah. So he also felt that large military forces, when placed in threatening situations, were more likely to cause your enemy to attack you than just having evil things surrounding them. He also developed what's called the triad doctrine, all right? And that is three things: land-based intercontinental ballistic missiles, sea-based submarine-launched ballistic missiles, and airborne strategic bombers. That's the triad thing, and that's what one of his deterrents was. Now, this thing you see in front of you, fallout prediction, what to know and do about nuclear attack. Look who produced it. The Department of Defense. Yeah, he felt that the United States and the military in general should be on heightened alert, especially the Strategic Air Command, all the time. Yes, and he had at all times, half of the Strategic Air Command ready to be in the air in 15 minutes from an alert. 50% of the fleet was ready at any given time. Half of all of our aircraft were ready at any time. Many of these would do practice flights during their 50% ready time. Instead of just waiting, they would just go on sample practice runs. And when they did, they carried a live thermonuclear weapon with them. Why, do you ask? If it was just a little practice, it's just more fun that way. Yeah. Now, McNamara was very concerned that unauthorized use of nuclear weapons was possible. So he made it sort of very difficult for them to be used. And he got these things going called permissive action links. PALs. They were your pal. And it was a control security that would render nuclear weapons inoperable if somebody that wasn't authorized tried to use them. Think of it as like you see in old movies, two people had to turn their key on at the same time. It was that kind of stuff. It was that kind of stuff. Oh, by the way, he first started using them on all of our nuclear weapons stored in Europe. And then he started using them over here. Yeah. Where's some... Okay, now this is really good. You guys are going to love this. Incidentally, here he is with General Westmoreland talking about the evil in Vietnam. Look at him, just looking at each other. Yeah, I think we could probably kill about another 50,000 this week if we really put our mind to it. Robert McNamara had a thing going called Project 112. What was that, I hear you cry out? Well, that was just your good old-fashioned biological and chemical weapon experimentation. Oh, yeah. Yeah. It primarily concerned the use of aerosols to disseminate biological and chemical agents that could produce controlled temporary incapacitation on people that are humans. Yeah. But don't worry, the test program was only conducted on a large scale at extracontinental test sites in Central and South Pacific with, some exposure to military personnel. What's that going to hurt? They signed up for the military. They kind of had it coming. And, he also did it secretly in civilian locations such as the New York subway with bacteria without anybody's consent. Just, why don't you go down into the subways with some of this biological and chemical agent? Just sort of let it go and we'll see what happens. That's what we'll do. We'll just see what happens. We're just going to see what happens. It's not a big deal. We'll just see what happens. Hey, remember I told you he liked to destabilize other countries? Remember when I was saying that about that thing? Hey, looky here. Look who he's with here. Hey, say that looks to me like the Shah of Iran, who he got put into power. Well, that couldn't turn south on us later, could it? Yeah, it could. And it did. And it did. It really did. Oh, man, there's so much evil stuff on this guy. I could do, it would take 3 whole shows for me to do all of it. All of it. He consolidated a lot of programs. There were a lot of nuclear and conventional weapons that he didn't think were effective, so he consolidated their programs. The Cuban Missile Crisis, he was heavily involved in that. I mean, heavily involved in that. And there was a fella that was known as Admiral George Anderson, who was the Joint Chiefs of Staff guy in charge of the Navy. All right. And he and Curtis LeMay were really testy all the time against McNamara, because McNamara pretty much ran these military guys. And they were like, look, you're not the commander in chief. Well, he wasn't the commander in chief, but there's something called a national security provision, which, yeah, he's not the commander in chief, but because he is the president's duly appointed secretary to the military, they have to do what the Secretary of Defense tells them, because it's the same as the president telling him, because he's the one the president put in charge. So these giant generals that never had to take any guff from no appointee or elected official before, they didn't like that. They didn't like that. At one point, Admiral Anderson ordered McNamara out of the Naval Operations Room, saying that as a civilian, he was unqualified to be making decisions about naval matters, leading McNamara to tell him that he was the defense secretary and, Admiral, you're unqualified to be ordering me to do anything. That really steamed those guys. I mean, he steamed it. And Anderson would accuse McNamara of micromanagement, because McNamara felt that the admiral should be going onto every ship and making sure that every supply was there and doing all this other stuff. And he's like, that's not the way the military works, man. Sorry. So there's that. Now, after the Cuban Missile Crisis, McNamara recommended to Kennedy that either Admiral Anderson, the guy that he didn't like and wanted to kick him out of the Naval Operations Room, or General Curtis LeMay, the other evil bombing guy who you see here, McNamara said, you know what? You need to ditch both of these guys, right? You need to get rid of both of them. But Kennedy was scared that Congress would really be upset if he fired 2 members of the Joint Chiefs of Staff at the same time. So he also didn't want these disagreements to become public, because that would make him look weak. So he told McNamara, all right, you can fire one. Which one will it be? And without hesitation, McNamara answered, Anderson. So he gets Anderson fired, but because Anderson really did anything wrong, Kennedy appointed him the American ambassador to Portugal, and McNamara tried to get him kicked out of that too, but he was unable to. So no blood, no foul, man. I mean, we could go through the whole Vietnam War. He kept going on these fact-finding missions and reporting back to Congress, and it keeps on showing all the things you're doing aren't working. And then McNamara would say, well, let's do more. Yeah. McNamara wanted to spray all of the rice fields in Southeast Asia with a chemical that would kill all the rice paddies. And, that's not good. There was a famous thing called the Battle of Ap Bok. And so all these computers that McNamara has working for him and all these projections, they go into this battle. They outnumbered the enemy 10-1, and they got destroyed. Absolutely destroyed. And so McNamara just keeps looking dumber and dumber and dumber. And I won't tell you about the Buddhist crisis. All these Buddhists were lighting themselves on fire in opposition to what the Americans and their allies were doing in Vietnam. And it was making the U.S. look really bad. At the same time, the U.S. was losing the fighting. And McNamara just said, we've been winning the war. I've got it right here on paper. So anyway, let's see. Do I have any more comments here? Oh, incidentally, Congress, remember that guy Wayne Morse that was the first one to say, hey, there wasn't really a Gulf of Tonkin incident. That was all made up. He called the war McNamara's war. And McNamara doubled down on it. He said, I think it's a very important war, and I'm pleased to be identified with it and do whatever I can to win it. It's jolly me. Yes, of course it's my war. I love this war. And, yeah. People started advising, Johnson and others, this guy's just way out of control. And he likes war a little bit too much. He's kind of really into war a lot. Seems to like war. So they started getting a little shaky on him. Just a little shaky. Let's see. It's okay. They'll probably get relegated next season. I hope so. At least you finished second again. I'm a City fan. Well, yeah, you and your cheating let you win 4 times in a row. You got nothing to be upset about. Oh, by the way, can you tell your coach not to be such a poor sport when they lose the FA Cup to a team that hasn't won anything for 120 years? Nothing. And your coach has to be like, oh, you were wasting time. Yeah, everybody wastes time at the end of a game if they're winning. Sorry you didn't know that. It sounds like he caused a lot of problems in the world. Now, he did. The Wolf says, General LePerve was concerned about our credibility in the eyes of the world. Yes, and he wanted to straighten it out with bombs. Those were accidental spills in the subway. Yeah, right. Greg S. says the documentary Fog of War goes into detail on McNamara. Yeah, it does. It does. I covered that documentary during our show last Friday on the Gulf of Tonkin incident. Wouldn't surprise me if he started the AIDS epidemic. Oh, I'm sure he had that whipped up in a lab. Not so bad. Portugal is nice. Sure it is. Some more episodes on this topic would be really interesting. Well, I'm skipping over tons of stuff. Tons of stuff. By the way, on November 2nd, 1965, Quaker anti-war activist Norman Morrison self-immolated himself with kerosene under McNamara's window at the Pentagon. All McNamara saw from his office was just some oily smoke rising from the parking lot, but he was troubled enough by the incident that he didn't discuss it, refused to with his family. And his wife was opposed to the war, so she sympathized with Captain Kerosene. He later said in the 2003 documentary, The Fog of War, he came to the Pentagon, doused himself with gasoline, burned himself below my office. His wife issued a very moving statement. Human beings must stop killing other human beings. And that's a belief I shared. I shared it then. I believe it even more strongly today. Then he asked, how much evil must we do in order to do good? Does that not sound like the line of a villain in a Bond movie? How much evil must I do to do good? Anyway. There were concerns about both the costs and the body counts in Vietnam. And incidentally, McNamara sent a message to President Johnson that said substantial loss of American lives in Vietnam was worth the sacrifice in order to contain China. And, it shouldn't surprise anybody at all, ever. So anyway, McNamara starts becoming disenchanted with his job as Secretary of Defense. Why? Because nobody wanted to kill people as much and as often and in the ways that he wanted to. So he's like, this isn't cool. This is terrible. I hate this. This is awful. Why are we doing this? So he had a few big failures. Operation Rolling Thunder. There was another big one called Operation Igloo White. A bunch of these things failed. So he's starting to lose credibility like crazily. Yeah. And then the Pentagon Papers. Now, McNamara commissioned the Vietnam Study Task Force on June 17, 1967. And so basically the Pentagon Papers called the effort in Vietnam a tremendous failure, and we shouldn't have done it. And they were leaked to the New York Times in 1971. And basically, the Pentagon Papers getting released, all it did was show that the U.S. government, and McNamara himself especially, was very, very aware of the fact that, the Vietnam offensive was futile and it was failing, and it had never been a good idea. By the way, the leaks of the Pentagon Papers subsequently led indirectly to the Watergate scandal because, he did issue the directive to end segregation in the military. Not the directive, but he commemorated it with a directive called Equal Opportunity in the American Forces, which dealt directly with the issue of racial and gender discrimination in areas surrounding military communities. So he sort of, it was kind of a threat to communities around military bases. It was like, okay, we're segregated, and if you aren't, we won't be here, and you won't have our business. So he did that. He was responsible for cahoots with the British. The British were running out of money and stuff, and there were areas of the world like Hong Kong and stuff that they were like, we're just going to split. And he's like, no, don't do that. Let us counterinsurgency it for you. Now, here's where it gets really creepy. Look at him in this one. Everybody else is really attentive at the table there, and McNamara's just like, 7 more tanks here in this village that doesn't even have running water. I can kill 500 there. Here he is just hanging out. And he did a lot of hanging out at one point, because he started to crack up a little bit toward the end. Okay, as he grew more and more controversial, he started suffering with the nervous strain of it all, and he went days without shaving and got spasms in his jaw spasms, and it would quiver uncontrollably for hours. And Johnson got really worried about him. He's like, we need to maybe tell him goodbye so he doesn't do something very final with his existence. I think you know what I'm saying. I think you know what I'm saying. So, yeah. Okay, let's see here. There was a big congressional investigation which accused McNamara of having consistently overruled the unanimous recommendations of military commanders and the Joint Chiefs of Staff. And he proposed systematic, timely, and ill-advised actions. Johnson saw these and said, we got to get rid of this guy. So there was a march on the Pentagon in October of 1967, and McNamara saw this, and it was an anti-war protest, and he saw the hippie girls placing flowers in the guns of the D.C. National Guard in front of the Pentagon, and he described it as hellish while he watched the hippie girls flash their upper mammalian carriage in saying make love not war to tempt the guardsmen, while the other hippies were spitting in the face of the guardsmen. So he saw all of those. And his response, he wrote Johnson a memo the next day saying the war couldn't be continued as it would be dangerous, costly in lives, and unsatisfactory to the American people. And he said, well, why believe this? Why, Johnson wrote in the margins of it, why believe this? And he also said that if he had been leading the march on the Pentagon, he would have taken over the Pentagon and shut it down, saying the hippies lacked the necessary discipline. Yeah, they were hippies, not well known for their discipline. Anyway, he eventually resigned. And guess what? He resigned directly into being the president of the World Bank, where he was even more evil. He left a legacy of bad things, one of which was the credibility gap. And this was talked about a lot in the 60s and 70s, that it used to be you could believe what the U.S. government said, whether it was true or not, you would believe it. Now, after McNamara, there was a huge credibility gap because the things that they were putting out about we're winning the war, everything's great, were not true. They never were. And we want peace and we're working for peace, when really behind the scenes, Robert McNamara was drinking, vodka tonics and hanging out with evil people. So, public distrust, the credibility gap, he was pretty much responsible for that. A thing called gradualism. And this was a theory that McNamara had that advocated gradual escalations of military power. Gradually turn up the knob. Bad thing. Bad thing. One of the generals in the 1999 Gulf War said, we're not doing gradualism here. I think we learned a lot of lessons in Vietnam, and one of them is gradualism does not work, and it does not. There's a thing called the McNamara fallacy. And basically, he had a bias in favor of quantitative metrics being better than qualitative metrics, which basically just means he believed in quantity over quality. And that's been proven, not that you shouldn't have a little of both, but really what you want really to be more effective, particularly from a military standpoint, is qualitative. You want the quality solution more than you want the solution of more. In other words, we'll throw more troops at it and we'll be fine. No, you want the smart quality way to do something rather than kill it with the hammer way, because it doesn't work. Also, micromanagement. He was legendary for micromanagement, and I won't even go into all the examples, tons of them. He took over the World Bank. There's a thing in the World Bank that offers secretaries of defense to store their papers there. It's a very secure place. And because he was not only the president of the World Bank, he was also a former secretary of defense. Part of him, the things they wanted to store there were the Pentagon papers, and he screamed at someone, I don't want to see it, take it back. By 1969, he wanted to forget the Vietnam War and did not want any reminders that he was ever Secretary of Defense. One of the reminders would be that even though it was against the policy and the laws of the World Bank, he did a political commercial for Senator Robert Kennedy, which they luckily never aired. But he did it until somebody said, see ya. So, by the way, another evil thing that he did right after he took over as president of the World Bank. I mean, it was right after, like seconds after taking over. He was head of the World Bank, And at the annual meeting of the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank Group, he declared that countries permitting birth control practices would get preferential treatment and access to resources, which made some countries begin the practice of forced sterilization so they could get money and loans and stuff. It was direct. I guess he didn't think it through. You know what I mean? I think maybe he didn't think it through. In his personal life, he married Margaret Craig, his teenage sweetheart, in 1940. She was an accomplished cook, and his favorite dish was, as I mentioned, beef bourguignon. You know what beef bourguignon is, don't you? That's a French stew of beef braised in red wine, often red burgundy, and beef stock, typically flavored with carrots, onions, garlic, and garnished with pearl onions and mushrooms. It's kind of a fancy stew. His wife died of cancer in 1981. He scattered her ashes on a mountainside meadow in Buckskin Pass, Colorado. They had 2 daughters and a son, one of which is a prominent farmer even to this day. Don't you know? A passenger on the ferry to Martha's Vineyard in 1972 recognized McNamara on board and attempted to throw him into the ocean. Can you dig it? The man remained anonymous but was interviewed years later, who quoted the attacker as saying, "I just want to confront him." In his later years, after his wife's death, he dated Katharine Graham, who was an American newspaper publisher. She published the Washington Post for almost 30 years, and she made it a big deal. They published the Watergate scandal and everything else. But he didn't marry her. She died in 2001, and he dated her all the way up to 2001, 81 to 2001, off and on. In September of 2004, he married Diana Mazzieri Byfield, an Italian-born widow who had lived in the United States for more than 40 years. It was her second marriage. She was married to Ernest Byfield, a former OSS officer and Chicago hotel owner who was 30 years older than her. And so after him, McNamara. Yeah. Died at his home, Washington, D.C., 5:30 in the morning, July 6, 2009, at the evil old age of 93. He's buried in Arlington National Cemetery in Arlington, Virginia, with the grave marker also commemorating his wives. All of his papers from his years as Secretary of Defense are housed in the John F. Kennedy Presidential Library and Museum in Boston, Massachusetts. That's all I've got to tell you today on evil hero and clandestine icon and evil man and bad guy, Robert McNamara. Let me see here. Can you hear it? Ice cream guy. Strange probably served him to the staff for dinner. Later, he watched film of the incident. You mean the guy that lit himself on? Yeah, and laughed. What was he thinking? Oh, dear. Let's see. CIA says, I've been a fan since we were in relegation dogfights, and I hate our club now. Plus, Pep is an overrated underachiever, but at least I'm not a Gooner fan. Yeah, because we got the guy that Pep taught. I can just hear Pep going, if you just finish second every year for forever and have a team that doesn't have any heart at all. And I wanted to tell the Wolf, Roy Keane. I was watching that show with with Jamie Carragher and Ian Wright and Gary Neville, and the woman from the used to play for the English national team, Jill. It's the overlap. It's their podcast, and Roy's trying to tell everybody something, and he's kind of getting interrupted. He goes, "You need to listen. You got 2 ears and one mouth. You ever wonder why?" Listen. Doc is here. Their legendary Doc Torn is here with us. He's saying hi to everybody. And, people saying hi. Good to see you, Doc. I won't be here tonight, kind of sick. Well, Doc, that's bound to happen if you come on the air with me the night before. You're going to be sick the next day a little bit. People saying hi. So we are sorry to hear that, Doc. You know what you need? Some boudin. Make sure you get a good night's sleep. Yeah, and a lot of fluids. That means you're kind of okay. No, not days without shaving. Yes, days without shaving. And there's a jaw would quiver for hours. Yeah, it's okay. I've already been to an actual doc. Good doc. Sounds a lot like Hitler with the shaking hands. It really does. The wolf says, Doc, just take 2 German chocolates. You'll be right as rain. And that is good advice. It's the Pervitin cure. I wish, sometimes Pervitin was still a thing, because I bet you I could get them to sponsor the show. Nobody else is talking about them as much as I am. Wolf says, hey, I'm not a doctor, but I've heard Panzer chocolate really peps you up. They don't make German chocolate like they used to. The wolf is laughing. Tim Jenkinson says, Americans should have got the Nazi chocolatiers instead of the scientists. It was a coin toss. Doopadoopadoo says, Tim, no thank you. I don't think we need any more chocolat. The wolf says, Tim, our candy and soda were better than theirs, but they banned all the good stuff used in it. Oh, Tim says, why would they put that psycho in charge of the World Bank? Exactly. I don't think they had any choice. Probably in 67, he went, I'm going to retire next year. Unless you give me the job, I'm bombing you. Why does Hershey chocolate smell like sick? I don't know. Because it tastes like sick? People laughing. Bob was a sweet, thoughtful, kind man. He never did any harm to anyone. He was a gentle soul who will be sorely missed. Gary Lineker left his job because of an emoji. The world is so stupid now. I think he also left it because I think he likes having the other show. I think he likes doing his own thing. I think he's going to be fine, Gary Lineker, but he's been doing it a long time. But he's a little bit of a drama queen anyway, I think. Ken says the guy who tried to throw Robert McNamara overboard, no ticket. Oh, Gary Lineker. Good old Gary Lineker. I love when Gary Lineker tells Gary Lineker stories. Boy, there's nothing better than that. He's never always the hero of the story. Never, ever. No, not ever. He's never the champion of the story. Oh, dagnabbit. I got to do something else first here. I'm going to pin the link. I hate listening to myself. I don't think you guys can hear me. Here's the link. And I'm pinning it. I can hear me, but you guys can't hear me. What the? Where's the thing that lets me pin the comment? Oh, I got to do that in the other. Where's the stuff? Why doesn't it? I'm sorry, guys. I'm tired. I had a big meeting today. I was coming. So I just pinned the link. And now, what's his name isn't here anymore. So great. Like Indiana Jones. Get it? Yeah, I got it. We hate listening to. I know it. I apologize for you guys listening. But I just pinned the link. And I thought the Tasmanian devil was waiting to come, really sock it to him. But I guess he left. Well, maybe he went to the Discord and hooked it up with old Jesse PS. I don't know. That was a rough one to get through because there was just a lot of evil going on. A lot of evil. And I'm super, super tired. And I had to go to this big meeting today. And I'm shagged out from a prolonged squawking. The wolf says, well, now, this is a perfect time for German chocolate. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So, yes, we've got no super chats or memberships here today. We've got, I don't even know if we got any new subscribers. Tim Jenkins says, it was really interesting. It explains a lot about the world now. Yeah, he was part of the first kind of, let me just strategize how to chess piece the world. And I'm not too squeamish about wiping out a bunch of people or a government. If it's, and he had all those quotes about how much evil should we do to do good. Why don't you just do good? The message here, don't name your kids with the middle name of Strange. Jing says, they're a call-in. Jings, I pinned the StreamYard link to the top of the chat. You don't call in. It's like Discord or something. You click that link, you turn on your microphone and your camera if you want, or you can just leave your camera off and I can just hear you then, all right? If you're not wearing a shirt or a tank top, I won't put you on the show. We don't do that, and we do not use profanity on this program. Otherwise, you're very welcome to use the link. Wrong show, Jings. He's not here. It says, this Jings guy the new co-host? No. You're naked. Yeah, well, then I won't put you on the show, brother. I can't. You could leave your camera turned off. There's a way to do that. You just, I think it says stop camera or something, but and then you're just like a little avatar. But that's it. Doopa-doopa-doo says, hey, Jingles, maybe Jesse can help you out with the link. Yeah. You're sweating. You sweat like crazy. That's, you know how you can reduce the sweat is lay off the sauce, my friend. You're a young man. You shouldn't be sweating like that. This is a family show. It's set up for Southern gentlemen and Northern trash. Wait a minute. I'm from the North. Wait a minute. Whoa. Everybody out of the pool. Everybody out of the pool. So anyway, that's what we're doing here. I'm going to give this maybe 5 minutes, and then we're going to call it. I got a lot of stuff to do tonight. By the way, tomorrow night, the Bradford City Fire is horrible. And Friday night, I don't know yet. If you guys had a suggestion, I've got some things. I could do the Viewmaster. I feel like Whammo is too good. Like Whammo I need to do next week. I could do Ritz Crackers tomorrow. That's kind of a throwaway topic, really, Ritz Crackers. What else do we have here? I think I was... Quantum Leap. I'm not doing Quantum Leap. What else did I have? Anything else? I have anything else? Let's see here. Oh, here's the wolf. Here we have the wolf. What's going on, Wolf?
Well, thanks so much for making me as depressed as I've ever been by listening to that evil guy.
Well, you're welcome.
That guy's behind so much nasty stuff.
Yeah, I know. I had to cut it down just to get it into an hour and a half, man.
The sending mentally deficient guys over as cannon fodder.
Yeah. He's kind of a new world order guy too, you know, and then he takes over the World Bank and he's like, Hey, if you really want really good interest rates, you might want to have birth control. And a bunch of countries went, oh, okay, from now on, you can only have one kid. I mean, it's forced sterilization.
Yeah, he's just nuts.
Hey, Jing's is actually suggesting the early Campbell cheddar sausage. I don't know what early. Oh, Earl Campbell sausage. Yes. I have some of that. I've got the hot and cheddar. Oh, you want me to do the Earl Campbell sausage as a cheddar? Tom and Jing's show made me giggle. Yeah, it's not a great show. It's not going to happen.
That would be kind of a perv topic.
Yes. Tim Jenkinson says, turns out the United States are the bad guys. Well, we're the good guys.
At least one of us.
Yes. we many times are the good guys. Like when there's an earthquake, who comes rushing in with aid and things. And we do a lot of good things. But I'll be the first to admit there's been some dudes throughout the years that have gone, I don't particularly like the man at the charge of that government. He doesn't suffer under my boot heel enough. And well, let's get a new guy in there. Jings,
let's put him on permanent vacation.
Jings, why don't you have a podcast? Or do you? Well, Jings on Wednesdays, I think, appears on a certain podcast that the name of it I won't mention, nor will I ever appear on it again, because they kicked me off for no reason.
They kicked the angry giant off for no reason. Nothing wrong. Said absolutely nothing abrasive.
Tim Jenkinson said sweatcast with Jings.
Sweet, soft-spoken Tom.
Sweatcast. No, actually, Jings came in and he was really hammered. And he kept talking and talking and talking. I didn't even know this was a show, by the way. I just thought I was in a Discord chat. And I said, man, I'm muting this guy, and nobody mutes Jings, and he kicked me off. Tom, I'll let you back on the show. I don't return to programs that censor my speech. I'm sorry.
Did you see?
Hey, Jings says his dad owns a good oofing company. I think he means roofing. But it's funnier to imagine Jings just going oof, oof.
I've seen a lot of those people oofing during the summer. It's awful.
Yes.
I oofed at one time.
Oh, yeah. Oofing is a good vocation. But I'm sorry that
time wasn't that great. But
I'm sorry that I depressed you with tonight's program.
I'm obviously
very sorry. I just thought Wednesday, great night for evil.
It's too awful and funny to be depressed about.
Yes, what a
just thinking that there's actually people like that that are allowed to take leader positions.
Now see, this is bad news. This is bad news. Jings is going back to county jail, apparently. I'm sorry to hear that, Jings. I know you've had several brushes with the law regarding being on the sauce.
Dr. Shinks has got him again.
And I know you got the deferments and stuff. So I'm sorry to hear that you have to go back to county jail. Although, maybe a good place to dry out. Why are you sorry? I chose to drink Modelo at work. I chose to drink.
Well, now, I see a problem there. He's just drinking regular Modelo. What about Modelo Negro?
I don't know.
That's the good one.
I couldn't help it. See, that's the problem, Jings. You need to be able to help it. Alcohol's a bridge, not a road. Think about that for a while. Hopefully you aren't a pilot. No, I think he worked at Pilot, though. Wolfie knows the darker the berry. Okay. Begra is dark like Wolfie. Okay. Negra is dark like Wolfie. Well.
Yeah,
if you say so.
it's the one to drink. The other one's just so.
And I was right. The pilot Flying J. I told you he worked at Pilot. He isn't a pilot, but he worked at Pilot, the pilot Flying J. So if that's even Jing's, we have no way to confirm whether that's Jing's. So
Lots of imposters.
yeah, that kind of things happen. But I do have a pack of the Earl Campbell cheddar, hot and cheddar things. It says they fired me. I was drinking in the toilet. I think you might want to restate that.
That sounds very suspicious.
You should have at least said I was drinking a beer in a toilet stall. Drinking in the toilet sounds like, never mind. Send me Earl Campbell when I'm in county jail. I don't think they'll let me do that.
Yeah, they might. You never know.
Tim Jenkins said, sue them for unfair dismissal, then turn up drunk to court. I attract.
Now that sounds like
listeners.
the perfect plan.
Yeah, that sounds like a winner of a plan, Jinx. Yeah. So yeah, Robert Strange McNamara.
Oh.
Don't you hate that because a lot of people used to do it, and I guess some still do, where the woman who's going to take the husband's name goes, well, I just want my family name to continue. Let me use it as a middle name.
Yeah, middle name.
Yeah, so it's, William Fontainebleau or whatever. It's the family name. It's like if I had if my sister had a kid and named it David Gulley Johnson. It's stupid. That's just stupid. He loves the bomb. Dupa says, Jings, how long are you going to be in jail? You're only going to be in there for like a period of months, correct, Jings? It's like 30 or 60 days. Please don't tell me it's 180 days. Please don't. Tim Jenkins says, it's strange that he always walked straight into good jobs. Yeah. Well, he's one of those guys. So I'm trying to think of what Friday night show should be. Can't think of anything right now. Well, something will come to me because right after this show, I got to set up the Bradford City Fire, which is actually a very horrible thing. A very horrible thing.
Well, you could do those hot sausages.
Sausage. I don't know.
On Friday.
There's enough of a backstory to those. Let me see here. Whoops. I mean,
how's about sharing one of them Tyler Rose sausages?
Oh, here's some information. Earl Campbell's smoked meats are known for a taste as big and bold as the man himself, with just the right amount of spice in every mouth-watering bite. Make the smart play. Bring home some Earl Campbell today. Anyone who knows football knows Earl Campbell. As a professional running back, the one-man demolition team was loved by teammates and literally feared by opposing defensive backs. Over the course of his 8-season career, Campbell rushed for 9,407 yards, 74 touchdowns, and received numerous MVP and Of the Year awards. Even calling this man a legend is selling him short. Anyone who knows smoked meats knows Earl Campbell. Since 1990, his sausage and hot links have been famous at family dinners, tailgate cookouts, and backyard barbecues. Each recipe includes Earl's own blend of spices and quality meats that creates juicy, mouth-watering perfection. Get in the game with Earl Campbell, legendary smoked meats. A bunch of pictures here for me to steal. Oh, great googly moogly. Oh, you know what? I might have to do this, but there's just not enough. I need the story, We started with just you know what I mean? In the backyard and did this.
Yeah.
I need all of that. All right. I think I might just go ahead and do that.
You could do a show showing you cooking that delicious, all those sausages.
Sausages. They're pretty good. They are pretty darn good. Let me see here.
Look at that. Look at those sausages.
Okay, here we go. I don't think this is Jings, the Epstein of his time. Jings says, do a show on the guy that helped play Strangelove. Already did that, Jings. Peter Sellers.
That was ages ago when you did Peter Sellers.
Yeah, why are you going to jail? People want to know. Peter Sellers.
Because he likes only rainwater and pure grain alcohol. Speaking of Strangelove.
Tim Jenkinson, who's being quite funny today, says, promote the Tom Gulley Show when you're in jail, Jings. I will tell all my cellmates. CIA says you should do the Hillsborough disaster. It was way more messed up. Well, CIA, once again, we've already done the Hillsborough disaster. Tim says, yes, he has. I don't think this is Jings. I don't think this is Jings. Jings says he ate an Earl Campbell sausage today. Jings, don't you have another job yet? Isn't there a job? You got another job? Isn't there another truck stop in town? Or?
Well, isn't he going to have on an orange jumpsuit picking up trash?
I don't know. He might have to go to the Who's Gow. He might have to go to the Who's Gow. Dupa asked it earlier, how long will you be in jail, Jings? And Jings, how come you can't operate the link? I believe that you haven't, come in here because you aren't Jings. That's what I believe. Dupa says, Jings, you are as funny as Family Circus. Which, of course, is not funny at all. It never was. Never, ever was. I got a haircut. I don't know. We'll see tomorrow how good it was. You can't tell for a couple days. Oh, brother.
It's about time for the hot rod to show up in the background.
No, it already came by. But it could go out again. CIA says, I bet you left out Bigfoot's involvement in Hillsborough, though, didn't you? Yes, I deliberately downplayed the involvement of Bigfoot in the worst stadium-crushing disaster in the history of soccer. Someone else named Peter is famous. I don't know, Frampton?
Peter.
Townsend? Tim's got a good point here. Can't be the Tom and Jing show if you don't call in. Yeah,
that's right.
You got that right, brother. You got that right. But tomorrow, the Bradford City disaster. I might just go ahead and make the Bradford City disaster on Friday, because that seems like more of a Friday topic. And then I could do another entertainment. I was going to do Quantum Leap coming up here. Somebody asked for it. And then UFO craze of the 40s, somebody wanted, or Whammo. Maybe Whammo would be a good topic for tomorrow.
Yeah, let's cover how children have been murdered by toys for decades.
Yeah, I know this isn't Jings now.
Well, what did he...
He's talking about someone named Peter, and he writes, I think his last name faces a certain direction.
Oh, that's the guy that always wants you to do a show on that, isn't that?
I thought it was, who was that? And not Scott LaRock, is it? I forget who it was.
I forget who
it's not, maybe it could be Funky.
Well, Funky does that too. Ask you about Peter North.
I don't know when Funky. We haven't seen Funky in a while. It could be Funky. Maybe Funky was just doing a bit that whole time, which would actually be pretty funny. But I was going to do a show on Rona Barrett. McDonald's gives me the most flexible hours. Well, they're good about that. They really are. Let me see here. You know what? I'm going to look into the UFO thing and the Whammo thing, and whichever one has more stuff, I'll do that tomorrow, and I'll do the Bradford City Fire on Friday. There's just 2 documentaries, really good ones. One of them is on YouTube. I posted it in the room the other day. The Bradford City Fire, really good ITV documentary about it. Really good. Tim Jenkins wants to know, any other evil Americans to cover? Ooh, that's a good question.
The list is endless.
Well, I mean, he's not American, but we could get into Henry Kissinger probably.
The list is endless.
Yeah, there really is an endless list of evil American people.
Every branch of government, almost every manufacturer, it just goes on and on.
Yeah, there's a lot of them. Well, I mean, it depends on what you mean by evil, because Henry Ford and Walt Disney were, kind of evil.
Well, yeah.
How about George Wallace? How about that?
The comedian or the governor?
The governor.
When I found out that George Wallace was a black comedian, I couldn't stop laughing.
Imagine how he felt.
No, he makes jokes about it.
Well, there's also, Joe McCarthy. Is
George Wallace even still on the? Is he retired now, or is he passed away?
No, I think he's still alive. Jesse Helms, there's a nice guy. Benjamin guy. Pitchfork Tillman. There's a bunch of them back in the day. George Wallace, though, was pretty evil.
Oh, he was a lovely
evil.
Man. A truly lovely man.
He probably had 2 subscriptions to the Thunderbolt of Justice, just to give one to a friend.
The head editor.
Yeah. A lot of bad guys in the U.S. government and like manufacturers and stuff. Let's see here. Wasn't Disney a Nazi fan? Well, maybe there's a lot of things about the thing. Well, even what we could do on Charles Lindbergh, he was a big fan of the National Socialist.
There were a lot of big fans of them in those days. The commies and in the 20s especially. They were darlings of, progressives were the darlings of.
Well, during the Depression,
horrible
a lot of that stuff was, hey, how come we're poor and they aren't? What's going on here?
I don't think people realize. Well, it wasn't that they didn't realize it; it's that they didn't have enough sense to actually study some of these whack jobs.
Yeah.
See just what awful people they really were.
Let's see what. Well, how about Jings wants me to do a show about him going to county jail, live from Guadalupe County Jail. I don't think we can do that. We could do one on all the evil people in just Hollywood. That'd be 9 or 10 shows. I'm supposed to do one eventually on the best moments of Letterman and Carson. I don't, but I can't get that together. I have to do that on a weekend. I can't. It's going to take a lot of work. But I'll figure something out. I'll figure something out. I'll do it right after the show while I'm eating my pizza.
Did you hear that? The thumbnail says they were fired, but one of the Indianapolis perv channels has was talking today about them suspending the team managers for those 2 cars that Penske got caught in for that
I didn't hear about
safety
that.
alteration. Then they were saying that they looked at the Penske cars from last year and found the same alteration. So
Well,
he
what
knew about it.
about
Nothing goes through without
no,
Roger knowing about it.
no, it doesn't.
And he has a history of it that apparently no one knows about. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. That's the least of what he's done.
Let's see. I looked up Spud Mellon today, and he co-created the hula hoop. I've been a little down today because George Wendt died.
Did he?
Yeah, just last night, I think, or early this morning.
I'd say he lasted longer than I thought he would.
The Bears. Well, he was on an episode of Opie and Anthony just talking about what just a raging alcoholic he was, and then he was trying to dry out. I mean,
it surprises me. But you know what? Mr. Lumbago, my grandfather, abused his body, and I can't believe he made it to 83.
Well, and I think part of the reason George Wendt was able to live to the age of 76, I think he was 76, is the amazing physique and how he kept himself in really good shape.
Oh, crud. I forgot all about what a powerhouse he was.
Yeah, all the physical work that he did to stay in shape.
Whether it's the triceps, the biceps, or what have you, he was on an extreme training regimen.
The dynamic tension. In just 7 days, he can make you a man.
Thick, ripped to shreds slabs of muscles in 7 days.
Having the sand kicked in his face to just being
punching out that big guy.
Just a specimen, yeah.
Thick, powerful legs that seldom, if ever, tired.
Well, he died peacefully at home in his sleep, or as I call it, passed out.
Probably suffocated with sleep apnea.
Me and my dad used to watch rodeo all the time. And I can even remember the guy's name. We were watching the Mesquite Rodeo, and this is when I lived in Indiana. And the bronc riding was on, and this guy got hung up on one of the broncs. That just means your hand gets caught in the rope.
Yeah.
And he got drug and stomped and drug all over right at the end of the show. And we were both, oh my God. So the next week we were watching it again, and they open up the show, and the announcer goes, the guy's name was Dale Falconberry. He's like, just for those of you who've been writing us in and wondering, just want to let you know Dale Falconberry is doing much better now. He's surrounded by family and well-wishers. And I just turned to my dad. I said, of course he is. It's a funeral. That's what a funeral is. He's surrounded by family and well-wishers. Same thing for old
Ready
George
to check out in the hospital.
Tim Jenkinson is
care probably.
Tim Jenkinson says he must have had a good heart to last that long at his size. He was a comedian before he was on that show, and Letterman posted a really funny interview with him. Lately, when people die, Letterman's page posts one of the interviews with Dave. So. Cheers is a great show. Let me put that down on my list. Really,
of course, the Fox was on it. The mouth that drank Cleveland.
Yes, I'm sure that's what I'll lead with. But that show.
If you could have been to the Fox end, you would have enjoyed it as much as Dobe and I and Big John did. It was a blast, and he was so pervish. Plunking on his little piano, and then we'd start chanting on your head, and he'd chug a pitcher of beer standing on his head.
I might not be as amused by beer chugging as the next
Yeah,
fella.
you would have. Anything that outrageous and pervish, you would have laughed.
We'll see. I'm getting ready to do the Indy 500 on Sunday at my good buddy's house. Jing says, come to Austin and let's drink. I've got a mini fridge filled with cold ones. Drive down. No, you need to lay off the sauce, my man.
Hey, he probably lives near the circ. Why would you call it the Circuit of the Americas? That's how weird F1 is.
Tim Jenkinson.
The Circuit of the Americas.
Jenkinson says, Jings is a big fan of beer chugging. He's also a big fan of bologna sandwiches and a cot, apparently.
No. Fried slick meat on white bread with mustard on it.
He says he lives
and a Pepsi.
And I know that this is so not Jings because A, he's typing too fast, and B, he's spelling too well.
You think it's funky?
I don't know who it is. I don't really care. It doesn't matter. If he's having a good time, that's all that matters to me. I'm glad he's having a good time. But yes, Sunday going up to the buddy's house. It's a yearly tradition. And we will watch the opening pageantry. I know you're not a fan of the pageantry.
Nope, not watching it. Nope.
I enjoy the pageantry myself. The announcement of the drivers row by row and
trust me, I've lived through enough of the pageantry to be able to.
The invocation, who doesn't love that? Dear Lord, please allow these heroes that hurtle through the air to be safe, and all that. Some sort of analogy, and then the back home again, even by the dumb guy.
Hey, still... was that Fort Wayne where they used to do the advertisements for the speedrome? Sunday at the speedrome, and
well, they do that everywhere. There were a variety of them when we were in Muncie. There was the Midwest Speedway that did one, and then also
it was Fort Wayne.
Also, the Winchester Speedway did them. Now, you can, they did the be there Sunday, where the big ones run. They do that commercial everywhere. Actually, I have some commercials for the Midwest Speedway.
Well, this was very particular. It was always the speedrome.
Well, there is a speedrome in Anderson. There's several speedromes. There's one in Anderson. Let's see here. I can actually play one of my Winchester Speedway commercials here. I voiced it too. Let me see.
Well, of course.
Well, no, it was at a little cable station that I did a ton of work for. Let me see. It's here somewhere. It'll show up.
I think you played that one. You've played that one.
I have. I'm sure I have. I'm sure I have. I'll find it here. Maybe not everybody's seen it. I might have played that on a very special episode of the Tom Gulley Show.
Well, this was quite a while ago, so there you go. There you have it.
Yes, there we have it. Let me see, why isn't this finding
there it? There you have it.
Probably isn't finding it because I've got 9,000 things open. Well, maybe I'm just not going to find it. Maybe it's just not going to show it to me. What?
It's as pervish as Cinco in Tijuana. The beautiful bull ring by the sea.
I've never heard that. Tim Jenkinson is correct. The birthday celebration will be soon. Be very soon. Let me see. Where is this doggone thing? I can find it in my Finder. It's just not. Well, here. It's not pulling it up in the StreamYard, but everywhere else I can find it. What a shock.
Hey, don't blame it on Streamlab.
It's not Streamlab. It's StreamYard. You just treat Streamlab and StreamYard like Rockford and Rockfish. That's what you're doing. Let's see here. I'm going to try one more time the proper way, and then I'm going to have, well, see, now it's just not. Man, StreamYard just blows, man.
Come on, that is
It's just a jerk.
well-run professional outfit that's just really at the cutting edge of technology, at the forefront of technology.
It's a total jerk. That's what it is. Well, where in the hidey hody hey? Oh, hold on. I might be onto something here. Okay, maybe here. I might be able
efficient
to
and
find it.
consistent, you just can't put a show on
Oh,
using
they're
it.
just a fine group of people that are known for their quality and ability to do things. Here we go. Oh, I found it. I had to do it myself, of course. You know, it's going to do it for me. All right, here we go. Let's see if I can make this happen real fast.
Employees advance through merit.
The city of Winchester and Winchester Speedway team up to bring you the Winchester, the first annual National Modified Classic. Over 100 cars expected to compete for a historic $50,000 purse. On Saturday, see qualifying and elimination races. Gates open at 4 p.m. Then on Sunday, be treated to 2 thrilling 50-lap semi-features to narrow the field to 32 for the final 50-lap shootout. Be there for the Winchester, the first annual National Modified Classic at Winchester Speedway, the world's fastest half mile.
Boy, look
I'm
at
really
that.
disappointed. You didn't use the fake radio voice for that. That's very disappointing.
I wonder if, well, I've got plenty of fake radio voice commercials, man. Don't you worry about that. No need to worry about that.
Every time I say that, when you do the fake radio voice, and I put it in the chat, you're like, what is he talking about? I don't understand.
You mean when I say $5,000?
That's the fake radio voice.
That's the puker voice, is what that is. Have you tried OBS? Well, Tim, it's interesting you say that because I used to produce the show totally on OBS, but I think if I were to do it now, I would use Streamlab, which is actually a combination of sort of some StreamYard functions and OBS. So I may just go to that here pretty soon because I'm gonna...
See, I keep giving you hints, but you want to make fun of me.
$5,000. What was the? Or trade the whole package in for $50,000 cash. That's on my VO demo. That's on one of my voiceover there. Or trade the whole package in for $50,000. But that's just the old puker voice from radio. 5 minutes after.
Old puker voice.
Yeah, they call it puker because you sound like you're puking. You're like 7 hours out.
I don't recall sounding like that when I was puking.
Well, it's just what they call it, I guess. It seems like there's no skill to racing. They just go around in a big circle. Yeah, go fast, turn left. But, yeah, 3 minutes after the hour of 9 o'clock here in the wee smile ones of a Wednesday night. Coming at you with all the hits you've been longing to hear.
Does he even understand race car driving? It is not easy to turn left and go around that track.
They probably don't even have to
change. That's why there's so many crashes.
They probably don't have to change gear or brake. Well, if I know Tim Jenkinson, he's referring to non-F1 racing.
My friend calls it taxi cab races.
He's referring to American oval track or tri-oval track.
I know
racing.
He is. That means he knows nothing about driving because it's not easy.
Well,
you crash, that car has to be set up right, or you're crashing, or you're not going anywhere. It's hard.
Hey,
hard.
Hey, look, you don't have to talk about Danica that way.
Crashica.
Crashica, yeah. Compared to rally driving, it looks so simple. Well, Nigel Mansell thought it was. I remember they interviewed him at the 500 one year, and he was having a really good run, and he's like, well, you know, I can do it with a lobotomy, probably. It's the easiest thing in the world.
Yeah, that's why he ended up destroying his back from a wreck from going around in such an easy fashion.
Yeah. Well, you wreck them, you race them. I'm sorry, you race them, you wreck them. There's no getting around that.
You wreck them, you race them? Hey, that sounds like fun.
Well, that too. But I think if you've raced F1 and you come over and start doing IndyCar, it's probably going to be a lot easier. He won the championship, you know.
Yeah, I don't think he did so hot on the oval races, did he?
Oh, sure he did. Sure he did.
Did he win the Indy 500?
I don't think he did that.
No, he didn't.
He led the race in 93, and after one of those screwy restarts right toward the end. Yep. But he did win the kart championship.
Yeah.
While
so did Emo.
While he was still the reigning F1 champion.
And Emo didn't just win the championship. I believe he might have won the 500.
Well, let's find out, shall we?
Did Emo win it twice?
Well, we're going to find out real damn quick here. We're going to find out. Champ car career. Well, let's just see here. Formula One kart. See how he did in the car. I got to go down to his honors or racing record or something. Can't you just say, did you win the Indy 500? Can't you just say that? I do think it says here won for Indy. So I'm pretty sure that means
he beat that particular race. He beat Al Jr. Like right at the end.
Well, I'm always in favor of that, but really, that's not a fair thing.
Hey, Al Jr. was hammered all the time, but he could drive.
Well, that's why he lost the race. He stopped for a beer on the last lap. Al Jr.
He and Chip were probably in the same party.
Yeah, he and Chip wrecked each other trying to get a beer over by the.
That's what happened with Chip's career as a driver. He was too drunk.
Well, Al that year crashed in turn 3 with 2 laps left, which pretty much just because the next driver was Raul Bocel, and he was like 6 laps behind.
Eating Raul.
Yeah. So, yeah. But Al Jr., what an alky he was. I love the year Al Jr. tried to block the gas man for his daddy, and Tom Sneva went, both of you are going down. I got way too much speed for either one of you.
I liked watching him try to get over on Earnhardt when they do those IROC races.
Yeah.
Earnhardt would just give him a little tap and get rid of it.
Nigel probably got bored and fell asleep at the wheel. Let's see here. Paz says, gotta go. Great job, show, Tom. Bye all. Thank you, Paz. Michael Schumacher could probably still win one of those, right? Maybe.
I don't think Michael can even communicate that well. They keep trying to, instead of just telling everybody so they know, they keep trying to pretend that everything is great and all blah, blah, blah. No, we don't want anybody to, come on. Just tell us he's a veg and let it go.
Oh, hey now, come on, man. Come on now. That's, come on, man. Are you talking about from the skiing accident?
Yeah.
His family maintained strict privacy about his condition since his accident.
Yeah, and everybody knows he's a veg, so just say it and be done with it. Crap, that's all anybody wants to know is still alive? Can he do anything? If not, great. Let somebody know what's really going on.
Somebody,
the 8-time or 7-time world champion, and
what are you doing skiing, by the way, too? I mean, come on, man.
He lived in Germany. They probably learned how to ski before they learned how to race.
He should have been playing soccer. He might have got a blown out knee, but he wouldn't be a crudit.
He had Sonny Bono's disease.
He wouldn't be a crudit, Trey. You know what I'm saying? Anyway.
He had Sonny Bono's disease.
7 championships. Until
he got stupid prizes for stupid games.
I guess. Let's see. Cheers from across the bar, says Jinx. Jinx, stop it. Michael Schumacher. Okay, sorry. On the Oragemusa, as they say, auf Deutschland. Yeah. All right. I'm glad
you could read that.
I probably need to get out of here. Jings was talking all this big stuff, and it's not even Jings. And he didn't even come on the show. So, enjoy the pizza, says Tim. Well, it might not be pizza. I got some other things here. It's only Wednesday.
I had one yesterday that, used one of those giant 13-inch burrito shells, and I used a little Herdez salsa, and then backed that up with a little Prego meat sauce, and then
back that up
with some of that Eide food.
Eide food.
I used some of that Eide sausage, and then little mozzarella and Parmigiano.
One of them eeny food.
Put the sausage and the seasoning on, and then covered it up with a nice layer of Parmigiano and mozzarella.
It's that eeny food. Linguine, fettuccine, spaghetti.
Zucchini.
That guy he stole the show of that movie, if you ask me.
He's so funny.
God,
he's been funny on everything he's been on.
Yeah, he really has. He's every time you see him, he's great.
Oh, he's comical. Did he do stand up too?
I don't think so. He's just a comedic actor, But man,
he was in some Southern shows where he was one of the good old boys.
Yeah, he was also in Slapshot. The so-and-sos are going into the stand, and they're standing up to. If I was down there, I'd stand up to him as well. Barbara Barry was nominated. The mother was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress, and I'm like, she wasn't bad, but she wasn't nearly as good as Paul Dooley. He was in Strange.
She got nominated for that movie?
Yes, you betcha. Yeah, but people always liked her. She got nominated for it, but he didn't. And by the way, that should have won Best Picture. It was good. It won Best Screenplay, but it might have should have won for Best Adaptation Score. It should have won for Best Score, but that's a great movie. But he's so good. Yeah, he's just so good in that movie.
Even if you're not a cutter.
He's like, you're not a cutter. I'm a cutter. Just when Dave races in front of him at the intersection and he stalls the car out because he has to hit the brakes and he tries to start it again. He can't get it started. He turns to the guy in there and says, I know what happened. I put premium in it. This car hates expensive gas. Pulling to win. He's sitting there listening to him eating the pizza because he's not allowed to because he had the heart attack. races over there in that Pinto or whatever it was. Refund. Refund. Had a nightmare. People came by, everybody I ever sold a car to came by for a refund, and you were handing out the checks.
That was a good movie.
Jing says the Ruta Lee interview was amazing. Well, thank you. I re-listened. Tom Gulley, Ruta Lee needs to be nominated. She really does. She. You watch that, and you can see it on YouTube. It's a Bonanza episode called A Woman Lost. She should have got a nomination for that. I'm sorry. I got to, oh, doggone it. I didn't do it today. I mean, I'll do it tomorrow. I got to send her a birthday card to that theater out there.
You know, Metal was saying that she couldn't watch the Land of the Giants because it was wonky. And what she was referring to is that they have, so that they can show it without getting...
yeah, they scrunched it down to a certain size.
All you have to do is, if you've got Zoom in your settings, is you just spread it apart with your fingers until it takes up the whole screen. Or
just zoom in with your laptop or whatever. You know, I try to help people, and all they do is complain. You know, I tell them about this great thing, and then they just, you know, I don't know what I'm supposed to do.
Well, who was that?
You know, I actually, I watched a couple of them. Oh,
because hey, I'm with her. Those things run me nuts, too. All that crap going on around it, but I can get rid of it. I know how to get rid of it. But it's very annoying, but I know why they do it. It's because
I can do it either way.
The worst is when you get that fog circle around it that you can hardly see through.
Yeah, I don't even watch those.
Yeah, I don't either.
Jing says
I don't know why they do that, because you can't see it at all then.
Jing says the people I meet in prison will enjoy this show. Well, I'm happy to know I'm doing something for the world.
Hey, how about that?
Hey, yeah.
Maybe you got a new demographic.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'll take any demographic I can get at this point. You know.
Hey, did you see what that Tom guy was talking about yesterday?
Yeah, that guy's a hoot.
By golly, he covered lint.
He was cutting up the other day. Nordic aliens from the Pleiades says, when I clicked this, I thought it was about General Robert McNamara of Vietnam War era infamy. Well, he wasn't a general, Nordic. He was the Secretary of Defense, actually. And yes, that's what it was about. We did an hour and a half.
Aliens from the Pleiades. What the heck?
I don't know. It's probably a movie, right?
I bet he knows what the moon being in a gibbous phase is all about.
Oh, definitely. No, definitely. Let's see here.
You got to know about absorpine if you know about the Pleiades.
Oh, it's one of the several purported humanoid races hailing from that star cluster. Oh. There you go. Has the Johnny Football Show been done? We really don't do that much sports. And we're sure not going to do one on him.
Why would anybody do a show on Johnny Football?
You know, I could do a show on him. Here's how I would do it. I would do absolutely no studying or research and wing it. So it'd be exactly like
and be hammered. Don't forget that.
And be hammered and beat up my, yeah. Let's see here.
He's still playing in the Arena League.
Well, good. Maybe he'll get back into the NFL. Oh, cool. I will definitely go back and rewatch this in that case. Hey, thank you, Nordic. I appreciate that. You're a fine fella.
He and the ultimate physical specimen.
Who's that?
Oh, what's his name for Ball State?
Nate Davis or
yeah,
yeah,
Nate Davis.
Yeah, Nate's. I think
here in San Diego.
Yeah, he played for a long time in Amarillo.
Why, he came here from Amarillo.
Yep.
They got to the playoffs, and then he threw like 7 million interceptions like he did against Buffalo.
Yeah, but in arena, as long as you throw 7 million touchdowns, it doesn't matter. Those stats are all like a pinball machine, you know. How'd you do in the game? I threw for 700 yards and 16 touchdowns. Wow, man, great game. Who do you play the next?
Lost by 50.
Exactly. I was going to say, who do you play in the next game of the playoffs? Oh yeah, we lost by 50. We were up by 112 in the first quarter, but then they came back.
You lost to the Arizona Gamblers or something?
No, I don't. We lost to the.
No, I'm saying the playoff game that they lost was to Arizona, not
the Arlington Desperados, or yeah, we lost to the Boise Scorpions. They all have these weird names.
Great names.
Yeah, the Scorpions. Anyway, all right, man. Well, thanks for popping on here, and I'll spend the rest of the night thinking how I'm going to time Jings out, because I don't think this is Jings. And I'm not reading through. I'm not reading through all these posts another time. So I hope you had a fun time. Hope you enjoyed yourself, fake Jings.
Have a Earl Campbell sausage.
One of those sausages, yes.
Oh, I can see him now if he's doing time going, I sure wish you guys served some of those sausages. How's about putting those sausages on the menu, guys?
What did I say I was doing? Well, I was going to investigate it. Well, I can look at it right now.
We need those sausages in the neck.
Let me see here. Whammo. Boy, oh boy. That's a man, whammo. Oh boy. Yeah, there's plenty to work with.
Loads of good stuff.
Oh, yeah. I have plenty to work with here. Hold on a second.
Loads of weed out things for kids.
Oh, you betcha.
Let's help get Billy out of the system.
Oh God, there's tons of. Yeah. Okay, tomorrow night, Whammo, and then Friday night, just for a good time, the Bradford City Fire. Let's see. Oh, they're having an extra transfer window between the 1st and the 10th of June because of the FIFA World Cup. I forget which U.S. team is in that, but I do know this. It's nice for them to have that extra transfer window, so Arsenal will have another opportunity to not buy a striker. With that picture behind him, Tom looks like he's planning an invasion. No, it's Robert McNamara, and the invasion's already happened. He's just telling everybody about it. Yeah, then we napalm this village. A lot of women and kids in this one. Anyway, then he stifles a laugh and continues.
What's he say? Agent Orange causing later problems with health? Wow, that's ridiculous.
Agent Orange.
Antifoliate.
Agent Orange. Wait till they get to the agents red, blue, green, chartreuse. And orange is one of our mildest ones. Anyway. All righty, man. Well, you have a good evening.
Yeah, you too. Enjoy your whatever it is you're going to have. Your,
I don't know.
bratwurst and
I'm so tired.
Sausage.
I don't know. Maybe I'll just make a pizza and call it quits. And I don't know. Oh wait, Nordic aliens from the planet. Tim Jenkins says, "Have a good night. Have a good night to you." So Nordic aliens from the Pleiades says, "I remember my father used to say McNamara's name like a vulgar expression. He worked in Army intelligence in Saigon in 1970s. Well, a lot of people didn't like him, especially people that were in the military, and also people that were not in the military." Anyway, all right, man, take it easy.
All right, adios.
Adios. That's, of course, legendary Ball State classmate. And just a good fella, although sometimes he's a dirty son of a gun. I don't mind telling you. The Wolf. All right, thanks for watching our show about Robert McNamara and whatever else we talked about after that, and putting up with Jing's ruining our chat room, ruining it with his constant machinations. And with all that being said, tomorrow night, Whammo. Friday night, the Bradford City Fire. And I'm looking at that old clock on the wall. And like the Reverend Al Green, I got to get on up out of here. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. And with all that being said, by the way, thanks everybody for the no donations, super chat, nothing. Absolutely no. Thanks. Till next time. We'll see you next time.
1, 2, 3, 4. They call me Mr. Gulley. I've got something for your ear. Now it might sound kind of funny, but I'll make it very clear. So what we talking about? We're talking about talking about pervitin, and we're talking about Bigfoot. I'm here to tell you where he's been. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. Mr. Gulley, yes I am. So what we talking